My friend won't stop TPing my house, so I take what is most precious to him. This took place over a decade ago, but I needed to share it. Growing up, my friends were all about TPing houses. This involves throwing toilet paper over the house, bushes, trees, all over the place. Although we thought this was fun, even at the age of 16, we knew that there were limitations as to how often you should do this, because even though the joke is on the friend, the parents are the ones dealing with the mess. So we had a rule. One person can get TP'd once a summer, no exceptions. If you were caught, you were required to pick it up. That being said, there was one friend who didn't respect the rule. For an entire summer, my parents' house was TP'd literally every weekend, without fail. I didn't know who was doing it or who to trust until I came home late one night to see my buddy's brother, we'll call him Idiot from here on out, driving off in his car, flipping me the bird. After I called him out on it, he openly and happily admitted that he was the culprit of the summer's mystery TPing. Idiot did not like me, and I did not like him. He stole my ex-girlfriend. He'd shoot me with a paintball gun when I rolled up to his parents' house. He thought smacking someone in the nads was a good time. Put simply, he was a jerk in every sense of the word. And Idiot had one thing he loved more than anything, even more than dangling his eggplant on your face while you slept. His obsession was his red 1998 Ford SVT Cobra Mustang. This car was his baby and his obsession. If he wasn't busy degrading someone's existence, he was in the garage spending his parents' money on his car. When he admitted to pounding my house with TP, he was happy to announce he was doing it to my best friend's house regularly as well. We'll call this friend BFF. BFF and I ended up telling our parents about it because they are friends. When my dad found out, he handed me his Costco card, and my BFF's dad handed him a $100 bill, and he said, "Do what needs to be done." We bought 10 pounds of flour, 2 Costco-sized bags of toilet paper, and a thing called catfish sewer bait, the worst-smelling substance in the world. To be 100% honest, I would rather eat a spoonful of raw number 2 than eat a spoonful of said substance. One afternoon, I ended up going to the Idiot's house to hang out with his brother. When I was alone, I snagged a pair of keys to his brother's car. They hung them up inside the door. We snuck back to his house that night, and here's what we did. Firstly, at least 4 pounds of flour was poured through a funnel into the air vents. No idea how that panned out. Second, the sewer bait was put in the section of the car that airflow came into for AC and heat. Don't ask me how, it was BFF that pulled that off. That smell was enough to make my buddy blow chunks. And third, we TP'd the crap out of his house, and I mean everywhere. The house, the back garage, the pond out front, the trees surrounding their house, and the trees in the yard. If it would hold TP, we put it there. 2 Costco-sized bags of double-rolled TP. That night it rained as well, and the toilet paper became paste. As for the car, my buddy said that his brother, Idiot, sold it after bringing it to the dealership multiple times to get it fixed. He sold the car for about half of its worth and was forced to drive his grandma's Buick. In hindsight, I was a huge jerk here. But when you're in Rome, do as the Romans do. This guy knew it was me, but I would never admit to it. You have to remember that this is in a day where if his parents found out that he had TP'd my parents' house every weekend, he would just be screwed. In short, my buddy has a brother that's a jerk, and I made his car smell like death. Yeah, I'd say that the author's self-diagnosis is more or less correct here. Jerk vigilante is the verdict for him. As for his friend's brother, look, if you're going to behave like that much of an absolute moron all the time, you don't get to be angry when everyone you've wronged comes after you. Perhaps having to lose all that money on his beloved car and chip papier-mâché off his house was a bit harsh, but you know exactly what happened to bring it on, and you should have known that some form of retribution was forthcoming if you were going to wreck a few people's houses every week for a summer, as well as just the closer, more intimate form of jerkery of just sack-tapping every other human male that you meet. If you're honestly surprised when the people you've wronged line up to just give you the drubbing of a lifetime, then you might be one of the biggest morons the world has ever seen. Yes, we do heal Pokemon here. I don't know if this truly belongs here, but I don't know where else to put it. I'm a dog groomer. Last year we had a picture of one of the former groomers standing next to a ghastly from Pokemon Go that appeared to be on a grooming table. It was hanging up with tons of other pictures of dogs. Well, one day a father and his 2 sons came in to pick up their dog. The dad says his youngest son has a question. The little boy was too shy to speak, so the dad asks for him if we heal Pokemon and points to a picture. The dad is winking at me, and the son has a Pokeball with a little Charmander plush inside. I said, "Oh yeah, just give me a few minutes and I'll get him all fixed up for you." I just took him to the back and turned on the dryer for a few seconds. All the while, one of my co-workers was looking at me questioningly, and I quickly explained what I was doing. She started crying. It was so sweet and innocent. I turned off the dryer and took Charmander back out front and said, "Here you go, all healed." They said thank you and left. Just a short, sweet, wholesome story for you guys. The narrator, unfortunately, was not one of the cool kids who had a Game Boy, but I do remember playing on my friends, and my hazy memory does seem to recall taking your poker creatures into a hospital of some sort and placing them on a machine that jiggled them until they were all better. I assume that's what we were emulating here. If not, let me know what I'm missing in the comments. In any case, this is very cute. I hope you didn't charge the dad the full cost of a grooming session. If not, good karma for you, author. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked below. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. I ignored your daughter? Alright, I'll pay for gas then. Alright, so this happened about a year ago, and the details are a little fuzzy. I was 24 at the time, a little on the chubby side, medium-length blonde hair, and I couldn't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. This will be important, I promise. I used to work at a gas station by the highway and had used to work there for about 3 years before being fired, which happened about 1.5 years before this story takes place. On my way to date night with my boyfriend of 3 years, I decided to stop for gas and to say hi to some friends who'd started working there. They were rather busy that afternoon, so I pumped my gas and walked in to grab a coffee. Now, the workers there wear a red shirt with the logo stitched on, black business pants, black shoes, and some wore a red hat with the company logo. I was wearing a red knitted dress, tight black suit pants, and heels. I can see where an elderly person with bad vision could have mistaken me for an employee, but not a young, fit teenaged girl and her brainless mother. Again, this will be important later. Anyways, I was getting a small coffee when I made a little bit of a mess. Being that I used to work there, I automatically started cleaning the mess. I restocked the paper towels and checked the creamer. The store owner was in the back and she'd never minded if I helped out a little when it was busy like this. I finished cleaning and put a lid on my coffee when I heard someone asking from behind me where the chips were. I really don't know where they are anymore because the layout of the shelves has been changed since I left. And I'm a bit of a health nut, so I don't care for them anyways. I thought she might have been speaking to an employee close by, so I ignored her and walked off to the sodas to get my boyfriend his favorite drink. Apparently the person behind me was the teenaged girl, and she ran off to tell her mother that I'd ignored her. As I'm grabbing my love's soda, I feel a hand grab my shoulder and yank me around. I don't remember exactly what was said, but it went something like this. First, stupid mum opened with, "Who the hell do you think you are, ignoring my daughter like that?" I was shocked and confused and said, "Excuse me?" Her daughter chimes in, "I asked you where the chips were and you ignored me." "I don't know what you're talking about, let me go." I backed up a little to get away from the mother's grip and she yanked me back. I was able to pull her hand off my shoulder, but it took some great effort on my part. Her daughter continued, "Yes you do, you were cleaning the coffee station and you ignored me." At this point it was finally clear to me that they thought that I worked there. So I said, "I don't work here, I made a mess and I cleaned the mess. It doesn't mean I work here." "Yes you do, you're in the uniform. I want to see the manager now." Being the sneaky little B-word I was, I decided to have a little fun. "Tell you what, I'll pay for a full tank of gas and we can forget about this whole thing." "Well, that's more like it." She turns with a victory smile and walks off. The daughter humphs at me and follows. I pay for my coffee, my gas, and soda. They won't turn her gas on because these people haven't paid yet. I then walk out to my car that's parked close to hers. "Alright, all paid for, just give them a few minutes." "I don't have all day, and why are you leaving? You need to pump my gas." "An employee will be here to pump your gas in a moment. I have a business meeting to get to, please have a wonderful day." "Whatever, just see to it that it's done." I smile at her and drive off to my date. I found out from the manager that after an hour of standing out there, she finally came in and screamed at them for not turning the pump on. She even said I'd promised to pay for her gas. When she was informed by the manager that I didn't work there and I never paid to have that pump set, she threw a hissy fit that would make toddlers seem like little saints. They banned the lady from the store because she had started throwing things around the store. They had to call the cops and she was escorted out. In short, I ignored a teenager, got attacked by a mum, and lied about paying for their gas as revenge. The cops were called and I made it in time for my date. I want to thank everyone for the support. I've been seeing a few questions, and being on my break, I do have a little time to answer a few things. I didn't call the cops on her or inform the manager simply because I didn't think of it at the time. I didn't splash my hot coffee on her because I don't believe in animal abuse, and that's a waste of good coffee. I say dress because that's what the tag said on the back of the dress. It only went about halfway down to my knees, and had I not worn any pants, my behind would have been very public if I'd bent over. I also need to explain that the reason I was fired from the store is because the owner needed to downsize, and I was one of the 4 that got canned. I don't blame the owner for this, I was planning to leave anyways. I got a job in a factory and am working on being a CNA. So, after deceiving this awful woman and her awful daughter, am I the jerk? Why do these crazy people in stores resort to such physical and violent measures at the drop of a hat, and just assume that there'll be no criminal penalties for committing actual assault and vandalism, just because their victims are service workers? I have to inform you, sweet viewer, that if you're somehow under the impression that the rules are different in a store, that the consequences of destroying something or laying hands on a person in a home or a place of business have the potential to be more or less the same, assuming that the owner is a decent sort that actually protects the employees. Also, when this lady finds out that our author is not in fact employed by the store, how on earth is getting angry at the store the next logical step? I guess it's as the author says, and this is just indeed a childish tantrum about the way things are, rather than a productive effort to help herself or anyone else. What a huge baby. Don't be like this woman, listeners. Falsely accuse me and withhold my pay? Say goodbye to your business. I worked at a small local spa company. There were only about 6 workers there. I worked there for a year and a half and only met the owner once, but talked to them on the phone a lot. She was bat crap crazy, but that's beside the point. Anyways, I got hired because my friend's mum, Pam, was the manager, and someone had quit in the middle of their shift, so they needed someone quickly. I worked really well there and learned very fast. I was very good at the job to the point where after a couple of months they sent new hires to be trained by me, and turnover here was pretty bad. Despite this, I didn't get a raise or anything. It wasn't a big deal, but it would have been nice. Anyways, I was always a closer. There would be a list of things I had to do after we closed, like vacuum and dust and such, janitorial things. As months go by, Pam begins to pick apart things. A string was left on a rug, the candy bowls weren't filled, even if they weren't even half gone. Nothing too big, but there were a few things every shift without fail. Slowly, things started to get worse. Eventually, I was being told that I wasn't cleaning rooms that I know for a fact that I had cleaned. Now, I admit that once in a while I would forget to clean something, but I was getting yelled at for things that I knew in fact that I'd taken care of. My other problem was that when my coworkers would forget the exact same things, she wouldn't yell at them but would say, "Just try to remember," or something along those lines. Eventually, Pam got other coworkers to lie so that she could report me to the owner. Many days I came right from school and would be wearing jeans. Pam left right when I got there, so after I clocked in and counted the drawer, I'd go and change into my work pants. Well, it turns out other coworkers would lie and tell her I never changed. After this, I began taking pictures and time-stamping them. This worked for a little while, but then my coworkers would say I changed back into jeans after taking the pictures. And when it came to cleaning, she would say I didn't clean well enough, as usual. All of these would get turned into the owner, but she wouldn't fire me because they were so desperate for people and no one wanted to work there. I wonder why. Eventually, I quit because I had a job for the summer that gave me many more hours. In my summer job, I made around the same amount of money in 7 weeks that I made in a year at the last place. Right after I left, I learned why Pam wanted me gone so bad. Pam had hired her son, my ex-friend, because he was too lazy to work a job where he couldn't sit around all day. That made me mad, but even worse, they wouldn't give me my last payment. We were paid in cash. I sent multiple emails and text messages to Pam and the owner that reminded them that I needed it. When those went unanswered, I then threatened legal action. Being a high schooler, I don't believe they thought I would do anything. How wrong they were. Well, there were many reasons why I was mad about this, so I decided I'd document every single thing about that place. These included an 8+ hour day with no breaks or lunch, both of which are required in my state, rats in the basement, ant infestations, fake security cameras, allowing underage drinking, Pam faking the amount of money we had to pay her son and daughter for under-the-table work, child labor. Pam's daughter wasn't old enough to work. Not fixing things like building framework or mold. Allowing temperatures to go above and below the legal limit. On bad days, it was above 100 or below 50 inside the building. Substance use. Pam giving themselves a raise even though they already made more than everyone else there. Selling client information. Pam compiling clients for another worker to take with them to a new company. But the way they went about it definitely was illegal. I don't remember the exact details. Not doing anything about the predatory behavior of some staff. Not paying workers. There'd be days where we didn't have enough money in the drawer, and the owner or Pam would be too lazy to go to the bank, so they'd just straight up not pay us. Not only this, but prior to leaving, I recorded some of the verbal attacks from Pam. Believe it or not, I even got them to admit to making false write-ups on me. There were more, but I can't remember what else right now. Anyway, I compiled evidence of all of this and sent it in an email to OSHA. Crap went down. In the end, both Pam and the owner were served with some hefty fines, and Pam is even facing jail time right now for fraud. The owner had to shut down their business and sell it. I don't know if the owner is facing any jail time. I also emailed every spa within 50 miles so that the owner, Pam, and some co-workers have been blacklisted from working within an hour of where we're located. I never did receive my last payment. It wasn't worth going to court over. But what came out of it was so much better. In short, my first job made false claims against me to try and get me fired. And when I finally left, they hired the manager's lazy son and withheld my paycheck. So I reported them to the state and blacklisted them from working at every spa in a 50-mile radius. Well, it sounds like this was a closure that was well merited. You're certainly not a jerk for reporting on all the sordid goings-on in this place. And Pam very much is a jerk for them. Go forth with your head held high, author. Why were the other employees going along with everything she did if she really was such a bad boss? I don't know how you were able to gather evidence of underage drinking, but my money would be on that this is what might have landed Pam in the slammer over the other things. The rest is probably just something you could be fined for. Although the question has to be asked, given the state of the business and the building from what the author has said, who in their right mind would buy this place from the owner? A skeevy, vermin-infested, collapsing building without proper insulation. Sounds like a great place to have a spa. Good riddance, Pam and the owner. May neither of you ever run a business again. I got owned by my 7th grade music teacher. As a teen, I was the bad kid in school that always lipped off to the teachers and had a huge chip on my shoulder. I wish I could go back and treat people differently, but I can't. In 7th grade, I was really into skateboarding, smoking cigarettes, skipping class with my friends, and when I did go to class, I was disruptive at best. My music teacher, old Mrs. Greiner, had tried everything to just get me to shut up and leave her class alone. Meetings with parents, detentions, extra homework, she tried it all. Or so I thought. Every day in between classes, there would be announcements on the loudspeaker. What's for lunch, sporting events coming up, academic achievements, whatever. On this day, the assistant principal was listing the 7th grade students of the month for different categories. Math, science, critical issues, and the student of the month for music studies is then my name. I froze in the hallway, sure I was just hearing things. Then my friends started finding me in the hallway, roasting me for being such a good boy, a teacher's pet, etc. I went to music class that day, and with the biggest crap-eating grin on her face, Mrs. Greiner had the whole class stand up and give me a round of applause for being such a great student in her class. I don't believe I've ever been more embarrassed in my life. Even at 12, I knew what she was doing and that she had just completely owned me. I behaved the rest of the year in her class, and I like to think that taught me a lesson. So this is the first story I've ever reviewed where they seem to be posting about a story where they were the jerk who got owned by someone else, executing a flawless and well-deserved revenge. Good on you for your hindsight. Hopefully that means you have a good head on your shoulders these days. But yes, Mrs. Griner did an excellent job of calculating exactly what was needed to humble you, planning ahead and delivering it in the most devastating way possible. It would be funny to get in contact with her and get her 2 cents on how she felt when that award was announced. I'm sure that's a fond memory for her. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to check out some great music, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.